concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
You know what? Fuck that. Immortal technique. Killer Mike. Fuck the Terminator. Brother Ali. Fuck Rambo. No, the ghetto is like a prison with invisible bars. No matter where you at, it always follow you where you are. And it's hard out there for a pimp to get out of, but it's harder for the hooker that he beat the shit out of. I got niggas underground in the Confederate States, ironically running from slavery that prison creates. So I never hate on the South, I respect their vision. I just hate on niggas that promote Samboism and white execs that love to see us in that position. They reflect the stereotypes of America's vision. They want us dancing, cooning and hollering, only respect us for playing sports and modeling. More than racism, they stay in your placism. All people are trapped in practical black facism. So fuck a civil war between the North and the South. It's between field niggas and slaves that are stuck in the house.
Civil war for the soul of a nation. This is a struggle to save civilization. Demonstrations overthrowing the occupation. The annihilation of mental colonization. Civil war for the soul of a nation. We fight for the future of our civilizations. Destroying corrupt government organizations. Trying to survive cultural assassination.
Rich niggas, blood niggas, essays, Asians. Why the fuck we born with each other's population? If never wanna dead, all our population, people in folk nation. Why the separation?
Welcome, people. This I'm gonna give a quick thing of how I keep my the best way to overclock your mining rigs and how to keep your cards cool. With the right cooling, there's a cheap alternative. You don't have to, water cool your PC parts. You don't have to take them apart. You don't have to risk taking your cards apart and putting new thermal pads. As you'll see, I have two 3080 Zotacs overclock version, and I'm getting 101.6.7 metahash a second from doing a simple mod. And I'll show you. These are the cards, the RTX 3080, and you see my temp, 53 degrees. And I'll show you the second card. It's even running cooler at 51 degrees. And it is smoldering hot in my room. Unfortunately, I don't have a temperature gauge. But it's well over 80 degrees. And I'm able to maintain and keep the cards under 50 degrees. And I have a 3060 I have overclocked. It'll jump up now. And I'm getting 63.3 metahash a second. That one's running a little bit hotter at around 68, 69 degrees. But I've done a simple mod to do all this, to keep it this cool and maintain those overclocks. And all I did, really, I have a box fan. Might be able to better see it. I have a box fan blowing directly on my CPUs and power supply, keeping everything nice and cool. And I also have another small fan. I don't know, it's hard to catch it in, but I have another small fan in the back of the case, blowing on the back of the Zotac card, keeping it cool. As the Temps see, I'm getting 63.3 on a 3060 Venus. This is the single port one. I can even get it up to 64. And I can almost just about I can get one of these cards up to 102. And the second one almost to 102. But its silicon isn't as good as the one in the middle. And I'll show you what I have set for my settings. I'm using Velocity X. This is the Pony overclock utility, and I find it a much better tool than Afterburner. And when I got my Zotacs, actually, I found a problem with them, that Firestorm doesn't even work properly with controlling the fans, and it took me days to figure out what was wrong, because Afterburner had the same problem. And lo and behold, when I used Velocity X, all my overclocks were working and maintaining the fan. Now on my 3060, this is what I have it at. I have it at negative 190 megahertz on the GPU clock. Memory clock, I have it at 1456. I can get it up to almost 1600, but I like to maintain things cool. I have the power target set at 72%. And I have a custom set on the fans where between 60 and 70, it's up at 90. The fan speed's up at 90% because of my the way I have it cased. It's not getting quite as cooled as good as my 23080s, but it's cool enough. And with that, I'm able to maintain these high overclocks, and they're perfectly stable. No ejected shares. I have one stale share out of almost 1,300 shares, which is absolutely nothing. So this is plain and simple how I overclock my 3080s, and I'm getting almost 102 metahash a second, and I'm keeping them ice cold. As anyone will learn, these things roast hot. They are hot, and I have them running overclocked to the gills without water cooling, without having to take it apart and changing the thermal pads. As you see, the RTX 3080, 54 degrees, 91 fan. And I'll show you the clocks that I have on this. I have the GPU clock, negative 114 megahertz. Memory clock, just over 1400 megahertz. And I have the power target at 76%. And it's moving smooth like butter. You know, I paid $35 for the two fans that I have cooling the cards. And much easier and a cheaper alternative than putting a water block on your cards, taking apart, having to repaste them, and risking voiding warranty and whatnot. When you're getting, I guarantee, probably just as good as results. And what you have to pay in electricity, you know, you'll get the extra megahertz and the high clock, and it becomes well worth it. So, and you'll see these things are paying out. Let me see. And heavy